What is up, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of This Is Not a Podcast, so please do not put expectations on me. And today we have a very, very special guest, somebody who's very close to my heart. Not only is he the best waffle maker of all time, but he is actually the man who got me into bodybuilding. He is the one who taught me the foundations, and like I said, he's the one who taught me a lot of the foundational pieces of who I am today, not only as a man, but again, the values that I spew on a day-to-day basis and again, bring into my day-to-day life. So,
So funny how the teacher now becomes the student.
yeah,
Yeah,
isn't that, it comes full circle,
yeah,
right?
it does. It truly is.
But without further ado, my old man, my father, Antonio Toplyn.
Hey, son, how are you?
If you can't tell, this is where I get my deep voice from. But
Hello, baby.
if you if you can't tell as well, guys, check it out. We are in the same podcast room, but it's just done up with some nice style. Now we have these new wooden panels, which are absolutely beautiful. So I hope you guys like it. Hope you guys enjoy it. And today it's gonna be lighthearted, man. We have no topics. We are just gonna again focus towards good conversation, highlight a little
What's
bit.
the name of the studio? Reform Studios?
No, it's just we don't have expectations, so it's nothing. Don't put expectations on me.
Too much pressure.
Yeah, no. That's the cool thing about the pod, man. It's
Yeah.
it's lighthearted. You know, when we have people who want to have good conversation and just kind of highlight some, details of our lives or their lives, and at the end of the day, maybe we can call it value because at the end of the day, this podcast is focused towards giving value and just taking people out of their reality for a little bit and just disconnecting and hopefully relating at the same time. So
See where it goes.
yeah, I like that value. I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll think on it. But for today, we are simply, again, going to take a step back and highlight some of the reasons why I am who I am today, some of the foundational pieces, and just, again, take a circle and take a full step back so you guys can see who I was before a bodybuilder, before a social media influencer, before the cameras. And again, a lot of the reasons I am who I am, the values I preach, is because of this man. So again, I want to thank you for hopping on. I know this isn't typically, his style, I guess, but he's usually the man behind the camera. He's also a photographer, and it's cool to have you on, and I'm excited. I think people are gonna like this one a lot.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so again, let's take a circle back to like the foundational pieces of bodybuilding, because I actually remember the first time you ever showed me a booklet, or not even booklet, it was the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
looked
yeah,
at that book and I was like, that is disgusting. I never want to look like that. And I don't know why you're a fan of people who look like that. So,
But taking it back further, though, I mean, I was the same way when I started. When I was younger in high school, my father was a power lifter. He was in the military, and he went to the gym. He had a consistent crew of people went in, and when they went to the gym, people cleared out, and they would just lift everything in the gym. So, and he would tell me, come on, boy, you're going to the gym, whether I wanted to or not. So, that's how I started, and as you can tell, it kind of carried on. But, I learned a lot. It was scary at first, because my father, he was the type of person who says, look, we're going to push you to your fullest potential and some, and I'm not going to let you get hurt. So here I am, 10, 11, 12 years old, and he said, all right, boy, your turn, get down on the bench. And 225s on the bar, and I'm only 100 pounds, and he got 225 pounds on the bar. And he said, I'm going to spot you. I want you to see what it feels like. I said, the shit feel heavy. So it wasn't. So, but he would, he would teach you that, with a good spotter, anything is possible. So, we started lifting, and he did most of the lifting,
of course.
But when you guys came, I remember how it made me feel. And when you guys were old enough, I talked you guys into going to the gym with me. And that's pretty much how it started. And, we've never let up.
Yeah.
And here we are, 20-something years later.
And it's crazy to think back because, again, the same way that your dad taught you is similar, maybe a little bit more modernized, I guess.
Yes.
Of the way that now you kind of teach us, right? Like, one thing I will say that I've learned from my foundation, it's something that I still carry with me very closely today, is intensity is everything.
Yes.
Right? Like, you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
train with a purpose, and intensity is typically backed by, again, purpose, or, vice versa. But regardless, it's about the intensity that you bring to the gym that's going to separate you from everybody else, and the consistent, And I remember back in the day, we were young, and
We would push.
we would push,
Remember our ending routine would run the rack on dumbbell
run the rack
curls.
on dumbbell curls. Maybe that's why Tyler Mannion told me to stop growing my arms.
Right? Yeah, exactly. We go from 10 pounds all the way up, 10 reps each, all the way up to as much as we can go.
Yeah, and it's so cool because that's actually still an exercise I do to today. So like
Yeah,
literally thinking back, again, foundational pieces. It's
yeah,
crazy what I still carry to
yeah.
today. And the main thing, and I'm not just saying this to be boastful. I think one of the coolest things about me and my training is I truly believe I'm one of the hardest workers in the gym. And sometimes I'm not gonna say that's necessarily backed by intensity, but you know. It's definitely helped me get to where I am today at a young age, in a minuscule time frame, I guess you could say. And I don't know, man. It's a lot of my foundational pieces were taught by
Yeah.
you in
I appreciate
in
that.
bodybuilding, and
Well,
it was special.
it's not, with you, it's more refined and more of an educated version now.
Yeah,
I mean, when I did it, I incurred a lot of injuries, and as I progressed, injuries were a regular thing. But when you train smarter the way you do, like today, we trained today, and old school, what you lift, I lift. And if I can't get it, you help me get it. And you were like, oh, wait a minute now, let's back off of here and let's come at this a little smarter. And I said, okay. And then, I'm sitting back saying, my pride won't let me say you were right, but you were right. And, got the same workout with less amount of weights and everything. Well, back in the day, it would be like, no, we're going to get this stuff.
yeah,
And, it led to more injuries, but, it's still the same result, but smarter. And like I said, that's what gives longevity to the modern day bodybuilders, I would call it.
absolutely.
You
And they
know,
kind of highlight the injury aspect.
yes,
Early on, I mean, it. I think a small part of a lot of the injuries that I do have, for those of you who don't know, I tore my right shoulder, tore my left shoulder, tore my right shoulder again, AC joint in my left shoulder. This is not a joke. This is all happening. And then tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, and retore my meniscus again. Tore my finger.
oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Your
high school,
high school and college. Every
every year.
Christmas break was a surgery.
Yeah,
You used to get Christmas cards from Rothman, because they knew you were coming in for surgery.
yeah, it's wild.
So it was crazy. I mean, as a parent, it was something you don't look forward to, but it was to the point. And I remember, I was like, hey, maybe we should, think about something a little different. And you were like, nah, Dad, I can get the scholarship. This was in high school. I
Yeah,
was like, maybe we should stop this football thing because during your junior year, the third surgery, and as a parent, I remember like, I can't go through this anymore because it takes a lot. It takes its toll on the parent. And I remember you came to me and you had these tears in your eyes. Said, "Dad, don't do this to me. I can get to college for free with this sport." And it made me think. And I said, "Okay, fine. That's great. That's great." So
yeah.
it's so funny as you said, you went through your senior year. Everything went great. You had the college experience, the scouts, and everything like that. The last
The
game
last
of your
game.
your senior year, I was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get through a year without an injury." Fourth quarter, something happened. You dropped to your knee on the field, and I said, "What the hell?" We had my camera. I said, "I'm gonna sit back and say," and then you called me over, and you said you tore a ligament in your finger, and you were out of the game. I was like, so close, but it wasn't meant to be. And again, you incurred another surgery on your fourth year.
Yeah,
You know,
it's kind of crazy to think though. Not only did we, have a lot of the same injuries.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
literally the whatever happened to you happened to me. So I can
yeah,
almost like
yeah.
kind of see into the future. Um,
It's not
but
a pretty vision.
no, no, but I think a lot of those situations,
Yeah,
taught me how to
yeah,
get through mentally a lot of things.
yeah,
Because when you're getting beat down with something like that, especially as a young man, you're thinking about the next step. You're thinking about, okay, how can I get to college?
yeah.
What am I going to do if I keep getting injured? What am I going to do?
Right,
Where are my opportunities?
right,
Because we had all eggs in one basket.
right, right,
Like
right,
this,
right,
if we didn't get a scholarship, who knows? Maybe
right,
like,
right.
there's nothing wrong with it, but like maybe community college or maybe not college at all. So it was a nerve-wracking thing. So trying to use a skill that not only was I passionate about at the time, something that it was clear and evident to a lot of people that if maximized, we could go somewhere.
Yeah, it's true.
So
But it wasn't an easy road.
no,
It
I
was
mean
not.
even the recruiting process in itself, it made me, fall out of love with
Yeah,
the sport for a long time. I tore my ACL my junior year, is my best year, and this is in high school, and you know I before that, going into it, I had my best season ever,
Yeah.
and I played defense. First year ever playing defense, at least on a corner position, and they loved me.
Yeah.
I got an offer from Old Dominion,
Right. Right.
right after the season,
Right.
and they ended up pulling the offer after the season due to the fact that I tore my ACL, and it was a mental struggle. It was something for me. I literally went into a deep depression for like
Yeah.
2, 3 months, to a point where I didn't go outside. I didn't watch football games. I didn't want to do anything that had to do with the sport,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of things to get over. And actually, fun fact, I actually started a company called Monarch Fitness when I got into it later on. But the reason I started that was because I wanted to focus on having it was a reminder to, again, never give up one. And then it gave me a chip on my shoulder. For those of you who don't know, the Old Dominion Monarchs, they were the team that offered me, and I just wanted
Yes.
to remind myself of, again, you can get through it. Head down, hood up mentality.
Yeah, but let's take this business mentality. That started
Yeah.
way before. And I'm a firm believer in, I support any endeavor that you may want to do to improve yourself, i.e., business or anything like that. You had a drive that was, at times, it was overwhelming. Anything you put your hand on, anything you saw, you looked at it and said, I can make money with this. I can make it, I can do something with this. And okay, we look at you, 12 years old, 11 years old, and we would, your mom and I, we would look and said, okay, fine. But next thing I know, I'm looking at contact lenses in the house, and you went through a contact lens phase where you were wearing colored contacts. So I
Oh
said,
my
okay, it's a
God.
phase,
I gotta find these pictures.
but but you made money off of it. You were
Yeah.
selling colored
I
contacts.
turned something I liked into a business.
Everything you liked, you always turned into a business. So it was pretty cool that, I started to see the formation of how the type of young man that you were hopefully going to mold into. And it was interesting. But there were times where we kind of had to like bump you, keep you in line, but we always tried to encourage that, that
Entrepreneurship.
entrepreneur. There you go. Good
Yeah.
word for it.
It
Good or bad.
it's weird. I always saw myself, I never saw myself in the NFL. I didn't. I think,
Everybody else saw you there.
yeah, but I never saw myself. It was weird. It was one of those things where I always saw myself in a suit and tie and climbing the corporate ladder kind of thing, right? And it's so funny to see where my life is now compared to the original thoughts and foundations that I thought were traditional, you know?
Yeah, but it's so funny. We talked about that in the car, but you saw yourself in a suit and tie, but it seems like how can I say, your personality was a gridiron, gritty type person because I won't say you enjoyed hurting people, but you were a very intense player.
I hope you're talking about football.
It's football.
Okay.
Yeah. Strictly football. Strictly football. No. You were never a mean person. Matter of fact, your brother was the mean one towards you.
If you're watching this, Tony,
No, but on the gridiron, both when you guys played, you guys really made a name for yourselves. But you were always a hard player
yeah.
on a gridiron, and even when you conducted your little businesses and so on and so on. But I should, that's not a fair statement. I guess I could see you, wearing both hats.
Yeah, I just think that the entrepreneurial side of me began to grow as I don't know, as I got older and seen the opportunities that were out there. Maybe it's hard to put into words, but one thing I just knew that I didn't want to play football for the rest of my life. I wanted to use it as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was younger, I had aspirations when I was like in middle school of, oh, I want to play in the NFL one day. But I think as I grew, and who knows if I would have gave it everything I have,
Yeah.
I was always a bigger guy. I was always one of the best players, if not the best player on the team. And there was and that started from middle school all the way
Right.
up to college.
Right.
And it was an opportunity that I still never saw myself for, even to the point where an entrepreneurship even got me in trouble in college.
Oh my God.
You know,
Do we really want to go there?
I told you guys in the Wine and Way episode that we would highlight it, but
Okay.
yeah, we'll go there. But,
Sure. All right. Okay.
so
All
story
right.
time. Everybody get their popcorns ready and sit back, relax, because this is a side of me that I never shared with anybody. And I think a part of the reason why maybe you guys are watching this is because you guys enjoy the raw, honest truths, and this is a raw, honest truth. This is a part of who I am and how I got to where I am too. So
All right. I'm sitting home one afternoon, and I get a call from your football coach. And your football coach says, Mr. Toplyn, you need to come to school now. You were in Pace, so that's a 2 hour plus drive.
yeah,
He says, you need to come to college right now. I need to sit down and we need to have a conversation and it cannot be over the phone. So I said, okay, all right. So I hung up the phone and I got in contact with you. And for some reason, that had to be the toughest conversation that you ever had with me.
yeah,
And I remember you said that I have something I need to tell you. I said, okay, well, what is it? I might be getting the timeline mixed up, but I remember the conversation. It took you 15 minutes to get out your statement. And I'm like, now I'm getting nervous here.
yeah.
And I said, what is it? Talk to me. We can get through anything, you know. I guess, to segue into this, I am a very biased father. I tell my kids, you can tell me anything and we will figure it out. Well, for some reason, he was having a hard time to tell me. So eventually he got it out and he said, I got in trouble in school. And I was like, oh, shoot, okay.
And guys, keep in mind, a little backstory. At this time, not only was I a dean's list student at the school, I was the poster child at
Oh,
Pace University.
yes,
I had
yes.
pictures of me posted everywhere around campus. It was for marketing for the school, but I was, a good football player, had good grades. I guess at the time, maybe now, but I wasn't the ugliest of kids, and they used my picture in every brochure, every welcome to Pace University packet, everything. So, you know, this was definitely a tough pill to swallow for me, especially being, having status, I guess, at the school. I hate to say that, but like, you know what I mean? So it went from being up here to very quickly being here. And that's when
Well,
I called my dad. And
it was a life lesson. It was
yeah,
a life lesson.
it definitely was. And it was, again, a part of who I am now.
So, so eventually he got it out. And again, this lends to that entrepreneuralship where sometimes we have to help try to keep you in bounds. And you were able to tell me that you got in trouble for IDs. Well, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, so, okay, for selling IDs. Being a kid, you don't give me the full details. You said, yeah,
No,
okay. You said that, oh, I got in trouble for, for selling fake IDs. Okay. And I said, all right, well, I'm on my way up there. Relax, take it easy. We'll get through this, And I don't want to say I surprised myself, but just from the tone of your voice, the pain and the fear that you had, that I knew it was very serious. And me verbally beating you up was not going to make the situation any better, And I told you I was on my way. I'll be up there. We'll sit down, we'll talk, and we'll get through this.
you mind if I clean it up?
Okay, let's hear
I'm
your
gonna clean it
version.
up. This is what happened because this was a moment that really like it stuck with me for a long time,
Okay.
and I want to make sure people get the understanding of it. So in college, I was selling fake IDs, and it was to a point where I was making a lot of money, and I was on radars to
Yeah.
to say the least, and I eventually got in trouble for selling the fake IDs. And during the time, I had a meeting with my coach after the fact. I had a meeting with the dean. I had a meeting with a lot of people in the school. And the final verdict simply came down to the fact that I was going to be kicked out of school for a semester.
Yeah.
And I called my dad during that time because this was something that, again, being up here and now being down here and just like that, I had to let him know. I had to let him know, hey, I'm coming home for a semester, right? I wasn't allowed on the campus. And that moment was hard for me. So I wanted to give him his flowers because I want to make sure that the part that was explained accurately was I was terrified to call him, and his whole life he always said that you can always come to me and talk to me, and there's anything that you want to get off your chest or whatever. Regardless, I'm here for you, right? And as a kid, like you hear those things, and you're like, yeah, right. But as soon as I tell you something you don't want to hear, that's not going to exist anymore, right? So there's been this was the first time where I called him and I had to like let him know something that I knew was going to hurt him, and again be a course change for all of us, not just me, my whole family. And so I called him and I let him know like exactly what happened, saying, "Hey, listen, I got in trouble. I don't know how to tell you, but I need you right now. I will never forget this. I told you I need you right now." And he said, "Talk to me." And I told him exactly what happened, and got kicked out of school. I was selling fake IDs, and I was more of the middleman in the situation. But they came into my room and they found a handful of fake IDs, which kind of led them to the question. And when I told him that, it was his response in that moment wasn't that he was angry. It wasn't that, you know, it was the I told you so or I can't believe this, son. He just was there for me. And I can't put into words how much that moment felt and how much it impacted me. Not only in that moment now, you guys might even hear it in my voice because like that moment from there, I could tell my dad anything. And I was confident that no matter what it was, no matter how detrimental it could have been, how scary it was, he would have my back, right? First, that was always the priority. I'm not saying he wouldn't be upset. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have that father instinct, but in the same breath, no matter what it was, he was there. And that in itself led us to having being real, like probably the best relationship we've. That
Yeah,
I think that moment we grew so much together, and
yeah.
we were able to be open, right? So that was.
Well, you're a young man. You're a young man. We all make mistakes. And I knew that this really was hard for you. So again, it wouldn't have made anything, it wouldn't have made things better for me to jump on you like that. I mean, the fact that you knew what happened to you was hard enough for you to deal with, and the embarrassment and so on and so on. So, I mean, I just knew that we'll get through this. And that was my main
Yeah.
priority. We'll get through this.
And we did. So
Yeah,
we
we
got kicked
got
out of
through it.
school for a semester.
Yeah.
And with the money that I made, I put myself through a
Well,
semester
yeah,
of college.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
one thing I want to say is, they kicked me out of school. I was not allowing myself to get put behind in terms of
Yeah.
classes or anything like that. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm going to find a school that I can take credits at. I'm going to transfer the credit. I went to Rowan University for a semester. Shout out to the Owls. Um, and I continued. I made sure that I did not take a step back because of this situation. And again, another learning lesson,
Yeah.
selling fake IDs and then getting kicked out of school for a semester, that I wouldn't be where I am today.
It's a life lesson. It was a tough life lesson.
Not only
You
did
know?
I meet my beautiful fiance during that time being home, but I found bodybuilding. I found
Yeah.
a local gym that embraced a young, new, I'm not going to say aspiring bodybuilder because it wasn't on my mind yet. But I started to train there. I started to be around bodybuilders. That's where I met my coach for the first time. That's where I met a lot of people who were stepping on stage. That's where I met the big man Stretch.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's one of my mentors. And it allowed me to grow my mind in ways that I could never imagine, you know?
I remember the day you came to me and told me that you were done with football
Mm,
and you wanted to go to bodybuilding.
mm,
Again, we talked about that in the car. And I think the parent side and that responsibility side kicked in. It's like, wait a minute. Because matter of fact, yeah, they offered you that 5th year
full scholarship.
full scholarship for your master's program. So me thinking parent responsibility, I said, how do you balance, masters bodybuilding? And only a small percentage of bodybuilders make a living from it.
Mm,
So yeah, maybe the parent side came out there, and I was kind of because I even went and researched a practice squad player. Remember, I said if you were on a practice squad, you could make this much money. Something. Why don't you give it a thought? And you were adamant. You said, "No, Dad, I'm tired of football. Matter of fact, I hate football."
yeah, I think it was hard for me to mentally give so much of myself to a sport that I just fell out of love with.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, at any level, D3, D2, D1, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
The requirements to, be good and the expectations of, everybody around you, they're high, right? It's hours and hours of film. It's hours and hours of practice and morning runs. And it's not the physical attributes or the physical parts that got me. It was more of the fact that every day I woke up unhappy doing it.
And it wasn't something you wanted.
No,
It wasn't that you couldn't. I think you just weren't happy being
yeah,
there.
I could. I mean, it's not. I did it my whole life. I
Yeah,
did it
you
since
did
what?
it. You did it
I was
from
like 6 years or 10 years old, wherever it was. I was so
you're
young
6 years old.
when I started playing football. So
Yeah,
the fact that it wasn't the fact that I couldn't do it. It was the fact that at the end of the day, I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. No,
It just, and it was a tough pill for me to swallow. Like,
yeah.
I've done that my whole life at that point. So for me to sit here and come to that reality, it meant a lot. And
Yeah.
that was the first time I ever bet on myself, ever.
Yeah. You put all your eggs in one basket on that one.
I did at that time. I had no internships. I had no connections into the real world. I had myself and the work ethic that I knew that I had.
Yeah.
And that's it. And from that day, I let my coach know. Obviously, I let my dad know. I let my parents know in general. And we were off and running. I was out of school after that semester and I started my first ever bodybuilding prep,
Yeah.
and
Boy, was that a rough one.
that was crazy. That
Everybody
was
felt
crazy.
that prep.
Oh my God, I had a lot of second thoughts in that one, but it sprungboarded me to where I am today,
Yeah.
and I'm a firm believer. And if it wasn't for those, early trials and tribulations, I think everybody in life can look back to one situation, at minimum one situation, to say, this was that pivotal point that I now sprungboarded me to where I am, or where I want to be, or at least where I'm going,
Yeah.
and that for me was, again, simply, believe it or not, being kicked out of college.
Yeah.
And again,
We're not recommending get kicked out of
yeah, yeah,
college.
I wouldn't recommend selling fake IDs or getting kicked out of
Yeah,
college,
right,
but
right.
I would recommend betting on yourself. And I
Yeah.
would recommend, looking yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
Because put it this way, and I'm a firm believer in this, if no matter where you're going, if you're doing something you're passionate about, eventually you will end up in your happy place. If you really think about it, right? Like,
You're right. You're
no
right.
matter what, if you keep taking a step forward, no matter if you take a step forward and you fall, right? You get back up, take a step forward again, or you go back a few steps, and then later you take a few steps forward. No matter how long it takes you to get there, if you're doing something you're passionate about, eventually you're going to end up in your happy place.
True.
And
That's true. That's true.
I'm in mine.
I mean, I had a long career, in corrections for 25 years.
He was a SWAT guy.
You know what? It was a great career. I did a lot of things. I met a lot of people, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with what I did. And the day they told me that I was able to retire, I turned around and I never went back.
Yeah.
My best friend had to go get my ID card. Kurt had to go get my ID card because I refused to go back and
That's
get
so
my
funny.
ID card. So, it's just important to have. So,
Yeah.
and then, I'm sitting home retired, enjoying myself. And you guys said, well, Dad, what are you going to do with yourself? And I said, I ain't thinking about it. I don't know. And you said,
Full-time dad.
Yeah, full-time dad. I said, you guys said, pick up a camera, get back into it. And, I thought about it, and you guys were, in college still. And I did. And I got back behind the camera, and I started.
Remember the Christmas gift I got you? Let's see if you remember it. Nah, there's no way, because it's not a physical gift. For Christmas, I got my coach to sign off, I got my athletic director to sign off, and I got the dean to sign off.
Yes. Being able to be on the sideline and take pictures for the team.
The official team photographer.
Yes. That was my first gig.
That was awesome.
For Pace University. And every weekend I traveled 2 hours, be there early as heck to shoot, and I was in heaven.
Talk about chasing your dreams.
You ain't lying. And for the first time, I could say I was in my happy spot. So there's a lot of truth to what you said. And I didn't get paid for it.
Yeah, you didn't.
I didn't get paid for it.
The kids loved you, though.
Everybody,
oh my God, you were like the
yeah.
Hey, can you tell your dad to get this? Or
Right,
you were like the
right.
most popular guy on on Saturdays.
And it was substandard equipment that I had because I was still learning. I was still learning the craft. But I took my time. I studied. And I learned.
And you invested your time into getting better, like in your craft, right? And that's the biggest thing. And nobody's going to start off chasing their passion and be extremely efficient right away.
No,
So just
not
gotta
at all.
get fucking started.
And
get
it's
started.
not. It's tough because, like I said, that we can talk ourselves out of anything. But to put one foot in front of each other to get going, it's tough. But once I did it, and like I said, I've never looked back. And I've been all over the place doing it. And like I said, I can honestly, truthfully say that I'm happy. And it's so funny when I post some of my pictures. Guys from my tactical team, they said, whoa, wait a minute. Who the hell is this guy taking pictures of sunsets and sunrises? And you used to kick our ass in training and everything. Now you doing sunrises?
Hell yeah.
I'm in my happy place.
That's your happy place.
Sunrises, sunsets can't kill me. can't
The
hurt
bad
me.
guys with big guns.
Oh, you darn right. So it's, you're right to, what you said is 100% correct. Find your happy place and go after it,
I
you know?
I want to take a step back. I hope you don't mind if I go here, but I think that you have a unique perspective, and I think that, recently we've all been going through a lot of loss in our family, and it's been a very tough pill for me to swallow personally for a lot of these recent comings. Um, when you lost your father,
Oh boy, here we go.
I just think this is something that a lot of people could relate to.
Okay.
He taught us our foundational pieces, right? You
He
said it.
was he was important.
And
He
don't
was
get me
yeah.
wrong, like, it wasn't, a straight and narrow our whole lives, right?
Right, right,
There
right,
was
right.
things that we all had to get over. Um, Again, he taught you your foundation, what taught
Yes.
me my foundation, which
Right,
gives me the ability to teach thousands and thousands of people their foundation,
right, right, right.
and kind of taking a circle back to it, there's a lot of people out there who follow me, who support me, who have all related to a lot of loss that I had. I tell my story about during the North Americans prep, I lost three family members in a very short amount of time. It was the
Sure.
first time I ever lost somebody
Right,
who was close to me, like the true close to me, to the point that I saw them on a consistent basis.
right,
They were over. I had a lot of attributes of me, like from them,
right.
and that was hard. And I remember, me going through random spurts of extreme lows during that time.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can say to anybody out there who may be watching, who may be either going through something that you have similarly went to, whether it's a loss of your father, friend, because I know there's been many.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. My relationship with my father was it was mixed. It was mixed. I mean, my father is a very old school. He's the king of his castle. I loved my dad more than anything. That was my buddy, like I said. But he was raised differently. He was raised with an iron fist. He was raised in a segregated South, well, Midwest.
Yeah.
He had the black barracks and the white barracks in the military. So he understood that people looked at people of color differently. Um, but he was very protective. He was a very protective father to try to keep that away from us. He taught me the meaning of family, love. Even though that it may be a different type of love.
I think it made it came off differently than
It,
than
it,
a lot of people want to
yeah,
receive it.
it did. But like I said, there was a point where we didn't communicate, and I remember you guys came to, I think it was a holiday or birthday. You guys said that you wanted for your birthday, you guys wanted to go visit my father, and I hadn't seen him in a few years, and I didn't say anything no about it, but I said I thought that was very peculiar because you hadn't seen him, so you actually went and you visited him, and I can remember I was home nervously waiting to when you guys got home to hear what you had to say, and you guys came home, and the first thing you guys did is said, "Dad, you got to go visit your father." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "He's not healthy. He's not doing well." So I was like, "All right." And you made me promise, and I promised you guys I would, and I did. It took me a while, to do it, but I called him, and I talked to him, and I did. And we had a good 2 years because subsequently, he did pass, shortly after, well, I would say shortly after that. But if I wouldn't have done that, and it taught me about not taking life for granted.
Yeah.
Don't take things for granted and think it's going to be there forever because it's not.
Dude.
It's not. So, and again, like I said, that's why I am the type of father that I am. And some people will say, well, hey, man, every time your kids are there, you're always doing something with your kids for your kids. I said, yes. My kids didn't ask to come here. We've made a conscious decision, your mother and I, to bring you here, and it's our responsibility to be there and support you in any way, shape, or form. And it doesn't end when you turn 18.
I was a mistake.
No, you were not a mistake.
I was definitely a mistake.
No, you weren't. You weren't a plan.
That means I was a mistake.
It was a cold winter. You were not a mistake.
We might have to cut that. No, but
No. No, you were not a mistake. You were just unplanned. So, but like I said, with my family, with my kids, as everybody knows me, there's nothing in this world that matters more than my family.
yeah,
My job, My friends, they know my family is everything in the world. So what I can learn, don't take family for granted. You never know. And unfortunately, we do, something we shit on the ones close to us when we get stressful, when
Yeah.
we're upset about things.
Stressed, all of it.
Yeah, and stress is it's a silent killer to all of us. But we just learn. We learn how to circumnavigate these problems, but never forget that family will always be there. You
I,
lost three, and
three and like it was like 2 in 2 weeks, and another one like a month later.
yeah, yeah,
And I was all in prep at the same time, so the
right.
emotions that I was going through were so hard. But
The pressures of prep, and then
and
funerals,
then COVID,
and then COVID.
and then I lost my job. And, like
Yeah.
it was so much.
Oh, yeah,
It
exactly.
was so much that was compounding at the same
Yeah.
time. But one thing that you mentioned in that was 1,000% accurate, right? Like you don't know what the time you have left, so make sure that there's value,
Yeah.
and that's just something that I've learned throughout the times I've had, right? So right now, if you aren't necessarily talking, if you haven't talked to your parents, or maybe you should be giving them a call, or regardless, whether you talk to them every day, text them right now, like let them know that you love them. Like it's so simple. It's the smallest things that matter, and
That's so true.
if you can just
That's
do it,
true.
and then I want you guys to, I don't know, man, comment below saying I did it. I don't know, but
But I mean, just think. I mean, to be just support doesn't mean you have to go out of your way. A text, like you said,
yeah,
a simple text.
just smallest things.
And now that you are, I can remember the day you left to come to Florida. All our family has always been together, and it's so funny. We've had family who moved away, and they've always come back.
Yeah,
You're the first one who stepped away and stayed gone, Florida. That Thanksgiving evening, the day you left, ooh boy, that was tough.
yeah.
We had good
Isn't that
dinner.
sucks? I left on Thanksgiving evening.
Thanksgiving evening, but you were determined. Your car was packed to the point you couldn't see out of
I
it.
had Jackson in the back. We were,
And like I said, you took off, and it was hard. But the point is, you grow up and you grow out. Now that's the most important time for family, where okay,
you might not see him every day, but you got to make sure the love is still
see,
felt.
that's what I'm talking about. And and now that you're very busy with your businesses and so on, and your training, that phone calls are not the norm. So every now and then, as crazy as it's going to sound, I look at your well-being through your social media.
Yeah.
I follow your social media just to see how things are going, not to be nosy, but again, you're very busy, and it's not like I can call you every day or text you every day because you are involved in your endeavors.
And the reason why I'm saying this stuff, guys, is because I went through it. Like I'm not sitting here saying I'm perfect, right? There was times where I was so focused on what I was doing that I closed off to everybody around me. And it's again like he said, it was so easy to close off to the people who you care, know are always going to be there.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, take that time, get better,
Yeah.
invest in again the relationships that you have, whether
Right.
it's friendships, whether it's your family. Trust me when I say it's important. And there was a time, when I forgot that. And I'm not saying there's not a time where you should, focus on yourself and I don't know, lock in, but in the same breath, just don't forget, the people who've always been there for you and who will continuously be there for you.
Yeah, but at the same time, we understand that a business takes dedication and it takes time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and every now and then you will call and say, hey, and just call them to check in, see how everybody's doing. Hey, and that's great. And every now and then you say, hey, Dad, can you come on down? We can hang out, we can get a workout in, or, help me do something. And like I said, I love the fact that I'm able just to do it
Yeah.
at the drop of a hat. So yeah, it's important.
Full-time dad.
It's the greatest thing.
He's back, man.
Greatest
He's
thing.
back. All right, guys. I can talk forever, and I know this man can definitely talk forever. It's where I get it from. But I wanted to
Okay.
thank you guys. I wanted to, again, connect with you guys, show you guys a little bit deeper about who I am, how I got to where I am, and in the same breath, the values that who I am, the values, right? So I thank you guys for watching this episode. If you can, like, subscribe, share. Is there any final message that you want to send out to the people?
Don't forget to reach out and just say hello. Thinking about you goes a long way. And I love you. Appreciate the opportunity, kid.
Of course. I love you, man.
My man.
All right, guys. I will see you guys in the next episode. The next episode is already planned. It's already scheduled. And it's a special one, too. So I'll see you guys there. Peace.